So at this point, I went to Michelle and I said, "Oh, I just signed up to do a pop-up over on Livernois." I said, "I think I'm going to do this for real." And I said, "I'm going to get my 2-week notice." She's like, "Oh, okay, yeah. Let's talk about this later. We ain't talk about it."
I thought I was bad. You worse than me. So what up, though? We are back with another episode of Speak for Yourself. And, of course, we have Ken Elkins in the building.
What's happening?
And a very special guest, April Anderson. April, the way we like to start off is we like to invite our guests to introduce themselves, right?
Okay.
So what would you like for our audience to know about you?
So my name is April Anderson, and I am the co-owner and pastry chef at Good Cakes and Bakes. We are an all-natural organic bakery located on the Avenue of Fashion, and we have a second location on Columbia Street. We are about to celebrate 10 years next month. Yep, 10 years next month. That's it.
Nice. So we were just talking about the journey, and I think that we should let some of the people know a little bit about the journey. That your story really resonates with me, and this is my first time hearing some of it. So in 2013, you were working where?
So in 2013, I was working at New Center, which is a community mental health. I was working in nonprofit. Before that, I worked in finance with Chrysler. And in 2010, I went back to school to get a degree in pastry arts.
Okay.
But it wasn't for the intent to have a bakery or anything like that. It was because I wanted to have a food blog.
Okay.
And I'm a person that I need to know all of something. So I need to know like why people using bake, because by this time I was following like maybe 200 food blogs.
Okay.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I needed to know like why are they using baking powder opposed to baking soda in some recipes. So that was the goal when I went back to school, so I can learn how to write recipes.
Okay.
In the end of 2012, I was in my cost management class, and I was like, I can open up a bakery. I could do this. So I went to Michelle, my wife, co-owner, and we had been married for 9 months by this time.
Okay.
And I was like, I think I want to open up a
what?
bakery. And she was like, oh, that's cool. Let's talk about it later. So
we never talked about this beforehand.
Because we didn't talk about it before. It was just
Right.
like, I want to have a food blog. So no point that me having a food blog mean that I was going to be leaving my job.
Exactly.
It was just like,
Right.
oh, this is going to be something you're going to do in the evening when you come home from working your job.
Right.
Your good job.
Right, exactly. Good job.
Well,
right.
she had left. She had
But
left
it
Chrysler
still was
about
a good
that.
job.
It's still a good job.
It's still a
right.
good job.
Okay.
Benefits, good money. So at no point was that part of it. It was just like, oh, this would be something you do in the evening time, right?
Right.
So I was like, I think I want to open up a bakery. She's like, oh, that's nice. Okay. So we talked about it no more for a while, and I was taking classes, and by this time I was doing the actual baking. So now I'm in the lab, so I get to bake, and so I was bringing stuff home. And Michelle's like, we can't keep eating all this stuff. Come on now. So then I will post on Facebook like, hey, this is what we baking tomorrow. If you want it, be outside when I pull up. So by this time I have all my friends, like I get out of class at 10 o'clock at night. They be sitting in front of the house waiting for
That's just how drug dealers do. Right?
Yes,
Like you think about it, like drug dealers don't never charge somebody
Right,
for the first time.
Yeah, they
Like,
get
hey,
you in.
you know what I'm saying? Try this. You
Yeah,
know what I'm saying?
Try these
Try this thing.
Try these
You
cupcakes.
said
These
you look
yellow
up,
cupcakes.
then you got a habit,
Right.
and now all of a sudden they want to
Boom,
start
now
charging.
you go to cost
All
of
right,
it.
okay,
Exactly,
all right.
So people would be outside. I would croissants, pies, whatever. People would pick it up. So then I went to Michelle and I was like, I think I should do this. So now I'm really getting into it and really planning like in my head that I'm gonna do it. So I went and got another job.
Okay.
So not only am I in school, but I was like, well, if I'm gonna open up a bakery, I need to know how the back of a house of bakery works. So I went and got a job, and I got a job at Panera's. For some reason, I thought they baked everything there. But so I would go to work 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock.
Okay.
On Mondays and Wednesdays, I had school. When I didn't have school, at 10 o'clock at night, I would go to work at Panera's.
Okay.
And I worked from 10 p.m. until 4 a.m.
Okay.
Then I would come home, go to work, go to my day job. Did this from January until July of 2013.
So backing up into Panera, because I think that I don't want to move over that point. You went to work for Panera because of what?
I wanted to learn how, so I'm in school, and in school, the kitchen isn't like a business.
Right.
The kitchen is set up 5 tables, and you work with a team at that table. So everything that you need is at this table. But that's not how a bakery is going to be set up, right? So I went to Panera's because I wanted to learn how the back of a house of a kitchen and a bakery operates. I wanted to know that. So I went to work there for the purpose, and so I learned some great things there, working there. But it wasn't exactly what I thought I was going to learn, because a lot of the stuff comes in frozen.
Okay.
Only thing it's made is the bagels and the breads. Okay. Everything else comes in frozen. Okay. So I went there. I went to work. I still learned so much being there.
That's back when Panera was good too.
Yeah, exactly.
but what I like about the importance of that, I think, because a lot of times entrepreneurs I want to be an entrepreneur, and they just get out and do whatever it is, the thing that they're trying to do, versus, hey, let me learn from somebody who's already doing it, right? Exactly. And that's what you did. You said, okay, let me go somewhere where I can learn how a bakery works, even though it wasn't what you thought it would be. Right. But it's still, you learned a lot about the business of it, right?
I learned about
a paid
placements.
internship.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
So I was doing that, and then I was like, okay, so at the same time that I'm in my head now, I haven't verbalized all this information to Michelle, but in my head, I'm planning out how I'm going to do this. And at the time, right around that time, they had started doing some pop-up activations at the corner of my street. So I went down and I started talking to people like, how you doing this? How you doing this? And so Kirsten and Erica, who's opening Detroit Vegan Soul, they were friends of ours. And Kirsten was like, oh, you should go take this build class that I just took, help you write your business plan out. So I signed up for the build class.
So Build, is that Build Institute?
Build Institute, Build Institute.
Shout out to Build Institute.
Yes. And at the time, they was on Woodward inside of D Hive. Okay. And so took my class. I was cohort number 8. Right now, I think they're on cohort 115. So took the class, and while I was in the class, getting so much information about how this. I done lived in Detroit all my life. Went away for school and moved away for job before, but other than that, I've been Detroiter. But I was learning so much stuff in this class, like stuff that I know nothing about that was going on in the city of Detroit. So someone was like, I was like, so how are y'all doing this? People was like, oh, it's this program called Revolve Detroit, which is part of the DGC. And if you want to do a pop-up, you need to talk to Michael Forsythe. So I'm on Facebook trying to find out who Michael Forsythe is. Found him, and when I found his page, he had on there posted he was doing a pop-up workshop at the Vanguard in the North End the next day. So I called my boss and I said, do you want me to call in, or are you going to let me have tomorrow off? Which one is going to happen?
I'm doing one. I'm not going to be tomorrow.
Happening, right? He was like, okay, April, don't come in. So I went to this workshop, and it happened to be on Valentine's Day. And at the time, one thing that I was good about is when I went places, I had baked goods.
Okay.
So I had made some brownies.
Just rolling with it.
Just rolling with the dope. Rolling with the drugs.
That is
rolling with the drugs.
Oh my
Yeah, go to
Try that cup right quick.
And slide this way. Check these out. Check these out.
So I took the brownies and I set them out for people to eat. And then at the end, I got to talk to Michael Forsythe, and I was explaining to him, I'm in school and that I, want to do a pop-up to see if I could do this. And he was like, oh, great. He was like, in May, I'm going to be doing another pop-up on Livernois. On the Avenue of Fashion, we're going to activate that space. So if you want to do a pop-up, reach out to me in May and let me know. Put in my phone to remind me in May to reach out to him. Reached out to him. He said, well, you can do a pop-up. It's the 30th, the 31st, and June 1st. And so at that point, I just thought it was a pop-up. I'm just doing a pop-up over there, give me opportunity to, because now, even though I've been baking since I was 9, and all this time I've been giving baked goods away to friends, I never charged nobody. Mm-hmm. So, if you ain't really charging people for stuff, they really might not complain to you. Right. They might say, oh, they might
good,
eat in front, but then they might go home and be like, what the hell did April just feed me? Right. So I don't know if people liking it or not because nobody's telling me that they're not. Right. So this is going to be my first time actually selling to people. So once I knew for sure that I was about to do the pop-up, I was gun-ho. I went to my supervisor and said, I'm giving you my 2-week notice.
So this is before you even did the pop-up.
Sold one.
You ain't right. You ain't sold
one.
Nothing.
You ain't
fake
sold
good.
A brownie.
A croissant.
Nothing. Nothing.
But you was like, I'm about to give my 2 weeks. I'm about to make this happen.
It's about to happen.
Poor Michelle.
I went to Michelle. I gave my 2-week notice to my supervisor. Once again, in May, once Michael said I can do the pop-up, I went and I said, I'm giving my 2-week notice. So it just so happened, I went home to Michelle and said, hey, I gave my 2-week notice today. She thought I lost my mind.
Yeah, I'm sure she did.
She was like, "What? We got bills." And at the time, we was in the process of wanting to buy a house together.
Okay.
So we were saving up money to buy a house together.
Perfect time to quit your job, right?
So we got this whole plan about how our life is about to go.
Right.
And you just flipped it all upside down.
Wow.
So I gave my 2, and it just so happened that my last day of work was the very first day that we did a pop-up. So I went to work that morning, cleaned out my desk and stuff, went home, packaged up all my stuff. I had baked it the night before, went packed it up. Michelle was at work, so me and my mother got the stuff and went and set it up over at the table. We had a table, set it up, and was like all worried, like, how are we going to sell it? Is people going to buy it? Because it was another young lady who was right on the other side of us selling baked goods too. And she was real popular. I had seen her stuff all over in the midst of now that once I started taking the build class and I sit and engulfed myself in the ecosystem of pop-up stuff and, talking to people, I was seeing her all the time. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So now I'm like, oh man, she here too?
Right.
I'm like, dang, she got a following,
Yeah.
I ain't got no following. Nobody ever heard of me before. I ain't care. I set up and I was like, we about to sell out this stuff right here. And we did. We sold out, and I was going to the bathroom, and I heard her sister like, "Who is she? Who is this girl in here?" She's like, "I don't know. I never seen her before." And I was like, "Yeah, you about to learn about me.
You about to know about me now."
Because now, again,
was it called Good Cakes and Bakes at that time?
Yep. And so again, it came from.
Got these cakes.
Got the name.
She was over there like, got these cakes.
Yes, but it wasn't fun. Again, when the name came out, it wasn't because of cakes. It was because the food blog.
Oh, the food blog was
because I was
Good Cakes and Bakes.
Good Cakes and Bakes. I was going to be doing more than cakes. I was going to be baking everything that I tried.
Okay.
And so that was just the name that we roll with. And so once again, and at the time, so Michael Forsyth had this assistant. Her name was Lori, and she was a person who was emailing us and everything. I'm sorry, I'm going to take this gum out my mouth. She was the one who was like emailing, telling us about the pop-up, and she was also in school, and she's a graphic designer. So even before I knew anything, I was like, okay, I need you to make me a website.
Yeah.
I need to do, she designed me a logo, website, everything. So when we did our first pop-up, I had a website up, I had a logo, I had got some cards made, I did a food photography.
Oh, wow.
I had my
Wait,
you did a food photography class?
No, and I had my friend who was a photographer.
Okay,
I made baked goods. He did a photography for us.
Right.
Took pictures. I'm telling you, in these 2.5 weeks, from the time Michael Forsyth said, yes, you can do your pop-up, I was on it. I was getting everything together. And so then we did our pop-up those 3 days, and it was so crazy. We was selling out every day I was baking. I had baked a whole bunch of stuff and thought it was going to last me the whole weekend. Every day I was baking.
Wow.
I left there at 8 o'clock at night, and I was up all night baking. I had my nieces come over. They would spend the night. We was up all night packaging up. And they was like, we're so tired. I was like, I better put that brownies in that bag.
Right.
And they was like, you got too much energy. But that weekend, so then at the end of the weekend, Michael Forsyth was like, hey, so we about to put our RFP we about to activate Livernois. So we're going to do applications, and we're going to have a whole week so Light Up Livernois started off as part of Detroit Design Festival. They have that whole month of September is the month of design, right? So they have all these activations. They have the After Dark and Eastern Market, and everything ended on Livernois that Sunday for Light Up Livernois. So everything had to be done for that day. So he was like, we're going to have all these activations. We're taking applications. And he
now have a pop-up. Yeah.
Right. So it was for pop-ups, and it was pop-ups and permanent locations, right?
Okay.
But even though I left my job, I had did all this stuff, website and all this stuff, right? In my head, I was like, I wasn't ready to open still.
Okay.
And so he gave us this, and I was like, oh, no, I need a whole year. I need to be able to, develop recipes. I need to be able to go on, follow food blogs. I just want to go to Panera's every morning and just eat bagels and surf the web. I said, oh, no, I'm not ready for this. Michelle said, oh, you are? I was like, no.
Right.
She was like, you left your job. I said, yeah, but I thought it was kind of a year. I didn't know it was going to move so fast because this was the June 1st.
Yeah.
Everything had to be ready to go September 20th.
So you mean that's to be in a physical location?
Yeah. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. So everything had to be, so the application was give them out June 1st. You had to have it in by July 5th. and they was anticipating people activating the space for for September 20th for Light Up Livernois. I was like, oh no, I'm not ready for that. That's not even 90 days from me leaving my job. I need a break.
Right.
So he gave us the application. I was like, I'm not ready. So Michelle was reading it because again, in her head, she's like, oh, you need to do something.
Right.
So she's like, well, it say that. So we read an application. The application is say even if you don't win, you're still eligible for free technical assistance.
Okay.
So like legal or whatever. And I was like, oh.
That's part of what I need.
So I was like,
that's what I was going to be doing at Panera anyway when I was going to be surfing the web and eating my bagels.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, okay, so maybe we should apply, but only so that in a year, when I'm ready, we can utilize that, right? Yeah. So July 5th, 4:55, I fill out the application, put together a business plan, in 5 minutes, submit it. Again, not to win, because I don't want to win. I just want my name on the list. So in a year, I can get it, right?
You're about to make a lot of people mad.
So we won.
Of course.
We won. So you won.
Right.
We won.
Right.
And we had 6 weeks to open.
Wow.
So we had 6 weeks to turn that Livernois space, which was just it had been
white boxed.
It was just white box, but it had been just a retail store. It was like an African supply store.
Okay.
Forever.
Now, did they give you the fund? Did they give you the funds for that?
So let's talk about that.
Where you get the money for this?
So let's talk about that part, right? So you apply for this, and they tell you that you're going to win a grant. So you get a grant. So the grant is $10,000, right?
Okay.
But again, I'm going into a space and turning it into a bakery. And the $10,000 isn't, oh, I'm good.
She said she good.
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay.
So they tell you you're going to get $10,000, but you can't use the $10,000 for nothing for you. The $10,000 is an art grant. So if you ever came in the bakery before we did the remodel, we had that mural on the wall right there.
Yep.
So that's what the $10,000 was for.
Art in the bakery, but not the actual.
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So I didn't realize that until
I don't understand what they be doing with some of that stuff.
I don't understand it either. But God bless them. So
I mean, I'm happy for the artist.
Right.
Even though there was none from Detroit, they were all from out of state. So at the time, so this is two parts to it. So that space is a huge space.
Yeah.
So it actually was. So they was like, well, you might not be able to afford to be in this space by yourself. So we're gonna put you with another young lady who wants to do ice cream. And I was like, oh, that's gonna be cool. I do cakes, you do ice cream.
Yeah.
But we're gonna be two separate business. And I was like, okay, that's great. Let's, okay, that sounds like it'll work.
Yeah.
So we get to the landlord and our landlord, we get to negotiating and stuff. And so two things I'm good at, and that is negotiation.
Okay.
So I was like, rent. I said we need two separate lease, one for her, one for me. We two different business. Yeah. And he was like, okay, I can do that. I said, okay, but I also need the lease to say that if one person leaves, the other person not responsible for that person's rent.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, okay. I said, okay, we'd like to have like 3 to 5 months of rent abatement. He's like, what's that? I was like, I don't want, time, we got to put money into building this out. So some free rent. He's like, okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
We go, put our deposit, go to sign the lease. I get there that morning because I ain't got no job, so I got all the time in the world. So I get over there, sign the lease, get my deposit. Katrina was a young lady name. She called me like at 4 o'clock and she said, I ain't gonna be able to do it. I was like, what? So also so at this time we had a general contractor come and tell us how much it's gonna cost for the build out.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like $42,000.
$42K was what the build out was gonna cost.
The build out was gonna. So we was gonna split that, right?
You got to pay all up front.
So no, you pay it in parts. So you got to pay 1/3, 1/3, 1/3.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I'm like, okay.
But in like 3 months or.
Oh no. So in 6 weeks.
In 6 weeks.
Right, because we got to be ready to go.
In 6 weeks. Yeah.
On the September 20th.
Now, just the build out, I'm assuming included what you needed for Good Cakes and Bakes and what she needed as well.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because
total $42,000.
Right.
Over 6 weeks.
Right, and so we had to put another bathroom in there because how large the space was. Mm-hmm. No plumbing was in there because it was a retail space, like for clothes and stuff. So we had to do plumbing. No air conditioning was in there, so we had to put an air conditioner in there. Painting, we had to do like the counters and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't have $20-some thousand, but I'm like, oh, it's gonna work out. It's gonna work out good. It's gonna work out.
Of course.
So
it's gonna work out.
That's my mindset. So she calls me and says that I ain't gonna be able to do it because I don't have no money.
Yeah.
What? But the day before, we signed the contract with the general contractor.
Right.
So you knew the day before, but then the next day we signed the lease. So the landlord calls me and said, "Oh, Katrina's not."
all night trying to come up with that 20,000.
So the landlord called and said, "Hey, Katrina's not going to be signing the lease, so I'm gonna need you to come and I'm gonna have to do another lease." I said, "Oh, no, you're not doing another lease, sir."
Right.
I said, because I already signed my lease, so my lease is executed.
Right, I already signed mine.
Mine's executed. Yep. And it says on there that if one person walks away, the other person is not responsible.
Ooh.
So at the time, the lease, it was $1,500 between the both of us.
But wait, sharing $1,500 each.
Nope, $1,500 between the two
Between
of us.
both of us. Oh, $750.
He was hot. He was hot. So for the next 3 years, you only got me for $750.
And then he ain't try to put nobody else in there though.
So yeah, he tried that too. But again, I'm not one of the people that he used to dealing with.
Right.
So he was like, "Well, I'm gonna have to find somebody to go in there." I was like, "Great. Make sure they're able to pay the other half of that $20,000."
Right.
For the build out.
For the build out. Yep.
So he waited until after. So another thing, he waited until I got close to done with the build out. He said, "Well, I'm not gonna be able to do 3 years for $750. I'm gonna have to put somebody in there." I said, "Okay, I understand."
Yeah.
I said, "But make sure that whoever you bring," he said, "I'm gonna have to put somebody to do smoothies or something. Make sure that when they come in, that they're able to give me half of the build out."
Yep.
Or whatever they do, don't require them to use nothing. Don't wash their hands, don't do nothing.
Right.
Because if they're not helping me, they're not coming in here.
Yep.
And he was mad about that. But
that makes sense. If I paid this money for the build out,
right, exactly.
You gotta come with
you gotta
20K.
come with your K. I'm not gonna do the build out. You just about to somebody and they about to just make money off of it,
Right.
so you can make money.
Yeah.
So he was hot about that. So for 3 years, it was $750.
Oh,
he was hot about it. So now I got to come up with the $47,000 for the build out, right?
Right.
I think we had like $11,000 between the two of us, me and Michelle.
Yeah.
So I went to my mama, who's like always been there for us, like figure it out. And I said, we short. I said, and my father, this is when he started to, well, you know you go back to your job, right? I was like, no. And I was like, I didn't told people now. It got to happen. I didn't post it out there.
I done posted it.
Right.
I put it on World Wide Web.
People gonna show up. People be showing up in a minute.
And so she was like, well, go ask Papa. I said, you know, he's so cheap. He ain't give me no money. And so she's like, just go ask him. So I went and asked him, and he was like, yeah.
Oh, wow.
I was like, what?
That's nice.
I was like, what? And so he gave us all the money, all of
He gave you all the money.
it. And I was like,
You had to pay him back or he just gave it to you?
no, he just
gave it to you?
Yes, he just gave it to
Oh,
us. And I was
man.
like, okay. I was like, wait.
That's
I was like, I said, this man walking around gluing his shoes back. He got all this money.
That's why he gluing his shoes.
Right.
Because he banking that money.
And so
that's nice.
You know, my parents paid for the build out, and even when we opened for the first year, my mother was paying the rent, paying that. I couldn't even afford to pay the $750. And it's because I was working out of a shared kitchen. So again, when we first opened, we didn't bake there. I baked out of a shared kitchen. Yeah. So I was paying rent at the shared kitchen and paying rent at the bakery. Wow. So I would get up every day, go to the shared kitchen, bake from 3 o'clock in the morning to 7 o'clock in the morning. Then I bring everything over to the living room. Me and my mother would ice the cupcakes, put everything out. And I do this every day. I did this for 15 months.
Okay.
So for 15 months, it was just
Grinding,
me and my mama.
Hustling.
Working at the bakery. Michelle worked on weekends. My niece, who was 8 years old at the time, worked on the weekends. But it was just us.
Might have to edit that part.
Yeah. It was just us.
Might have to edit the age out on it.
You know, we were just working there, doing it. And we did that for 15 months. And so during that time, I was like, okay, so this is how much we got to do if we want to hire somebody, right?
Okay.
So I would go bake, and my mother would stay at the bakery, and I would go home, maybe sleep for 2 hours, and I come back to the bakery. And so all this time,
She was you and your mom?
Just me and my mother, yeah.
Okay.
And she would be like, you know, she was retired at this time, so she's like, I'm gonna help you open. But she been there the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, she's still there?
She's still there. Still there every day at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
Nice.
That's some awesome parents right there.
That's
still there.
That's some parents that
That's
A, be
crazy.
able to give you the money, and then B, to
Work
ride
inside,
with you
yeah.
and help you build the business.
Yeah, my mother's been there.
I saw both of them, and like you could tell they were so proud.
Yeah.
Talking
So
about
proud.
The Columbia grand opening.
The grand opening.
Okay.
The new spot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I know why they was proud. Her daddy was looking like, I did this.
I did this.
Right. I did this. This is all because of me.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And so I would tell my mother, like, I had it broken down to the every hour how much we need to make. I was like, if you want me to pay you, this is what we got to make every hour. So sometimes I would send her text messages like, ma'am, you are short. If you want to get paid, you better get some more selling going on because you are short this hour. And after
just like dope dealers.
I know. I'm saying she ain't even appreciating the fact.
I am, but
she's
like, no.
She and her mama told me, like, you short. That bag is short. I'm gonna need you. That bag to be a little bit heavier when I see you tomorrow.
I need you to get it up. You better recommend some more stuff.
Right. You know the regular employees don't have nothing coming from April.
That's what I tell
if she treat her mama like this.
That's what I tell people. They say it all the time. They say it all the time. They be like, April don't, and my mother messed up. I'd be like, you know, you messed up this. They be like, if she getting on her mom, what you think we got? Y'all ain't got a chance in the world. Y'all ain't got a chance. Exactly. But we did it. Michelle was there. So all this time I'm thinking about like what we need to do again, because remember I had a website that you can go see what we had, but you couldn't buy nothing off of it. But you go see it. So then as we were trying to grow, so Livernois at the time, again, like I said, my parents was paying the bills over there because we couldn't cover it. So I was like, in order for us to be able to cover the bills, we can't just depend on people coming in the bakery. Mm-hmm. So at that time, when we first started, for maybe like the first 18 to 20 months, only 16% of our revenue was from people walking into the bakery. That can't pay no bills.
Right.
Can't pay no staff, can't pay no bills. So we was like, okay, we got to figure out. So I was like, we got to get catering. Mm-hmm. Catering. So we'll go back a little bit. So one thing is that reason why it took us 15 months before we could bake on Livernois, when we were baking out the shared kitchen, is because it took forever to get licensed in that space.
Okay.
So just a little craziness. So two things is that the day that they announced that we had won was the same day that Detroit filed the largest bankruptcy in municipal history. So people thought it was crazy. It's like, your city just filed bankruptcy. You talking about opening a business in that city?
Right.
So that's number one, right? So then once we signed the lease and the general contractor was about to start, was the same day that the FBI walked into BC and arrested all of the inspectors. All of the inspectors down at BC got arrested for taking bribes and all type of stuff. So we had no inspector.
I remember seeing their pictures in the news.
In the newspaper. So they had one inspector left.
Wow.
And then they hired another person. So it was two inspectors for the whole city of Detroit.
Wow.
And so whenever an inspector would come and tell us what we needed to do, he would write it down. And then when we did it, so electrician, whatever, did it and called for a final inspection, we get a whole nother inspector.
Yeah.
And he would tell us something else was wrong. So we did this for 15 months.
Yeah.
So finally I was at some place and I saw the mayor and I started complaining to the mayor about it.
Okay.
And then maybe like 2 weeks later, finally got somebody to come in and do it. So that was in November. It was actually the day before Thanksgiving. And he came in and he was like, oh, your electrical panel isn't labeled right. I'll come back after Thanksgiving and fix. I said, oh, no.
Right.
Oh, no, I've been waiting too long.
Right.
And I called my electrician and put him on FaceTime, and I said, tell me what I need to write.
Right, on this label,
thing. And I was like, no, you're going to do this before we go on Thanksgiving break, sir. We're going to have this doggone last green sticker right here.
If that's all it is.
That's it. That's
it.
it. Well, we about to write this out.
Tight.
So did that, and then the next day after Thanksgiving, then my father brought the ovens and stuff that we needed for the bakery so we could start baking on Livernois. So then once we start baking on Livernois, we were like, okay, so now we need to start getting some catering.
Okay.
Because catering is, if we're not getting people to come to us, then we need to be able to go to them.
Yep.
So we started figuring out how to get catering. So we was getting a few catering, like when Build, we would do the catering for Build. Then Tech Town.
So you look for more corporate catering.
Right, more corporate catering. Right, we was trying to get some corporate catering accounts.
Yeah, okay.
So then we built that up. And then I was like, but I want people to be able to order on the website. Because I know me, I like to shop online. And I don't want to have to, at the time, you had to go to our website and put in an inquiry. Write out what you want, then somebody got to get the email. I said, for me, that don't work for me. If I have to do that, I'm going to go to another website, right?
Exactly.
So I was like, we need to build out a website. And so at that time, it was expensive to build out a website where you could take e-commerce. Because you had to spend like $1,000 to get that SSL in order to take credit cards. So it's like $1,000 to $1,500 just to buy the license. And then it's like $500 to $600 a year to keep it up.
Yeah.
And Michelle was like, that's too much money. That don't make no sense. Ain't nobody buying no cakes online. said, what are you talking about? And at this time, we was big into watching this show on TLC called DC Cupcakes.
Okay.
And they ship, and I didn't order cupcakes from them. I said, we buy cupcakes online.
Right, all the time.
All the time. To come from
pay a crazy premium.
Right. $40 for just shipping. I'm spending $65 for 12 cupcakes.
Right.
Yeah.
It is coming from DC. Why you don't think people order cupcakes? And so I was like, no, we get in the website. So I started saving up for the website. Saving up. Got the website designed out. And then I was like, we need to be able to deliver. Maybe we should get a van to deliver.
Okay.
And she's like, that don't make sense. That don't make sense. That's just too much. You get unnecessary bills, April.
Yeah.
Because now you got a car note for this truck.
Yeah.
You barely can pay the bills here. Now you got a car note too.
Right.
I was like, but
ain't paid your mama yet.
Ain't paid her yet. Ain't paid her yet. Sorry.
That's her daddy.
Right. Ain't paid her.
No, mama working.
Right. Mama working.
Dad pulled the money out of his sock. He's straight.
Mama don't even get
Mama's
that salary.
out there working. What time was mama showing up every day?
6 o'clock.
7:30. No, this is 7:30.
7:30.
I mean, she was there before I got there sometimes.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. And so I was like, we got start saving. I said, and so at this time it just worked out that my engine on my car went out. So I was like, well, I mean,
we're gonna have to do something.
Got the van, and then I was like, we should wrap it. This time nobody was wrapping vans. Nobody had a wrapped car. And so I wrapped it. Michelle was like, that's ridiculous. You just spending unnecessary money. But she wasn't seeing the future. I'm looking at the. I was like, that's just free advertisement.
Yep.
Right.
I'm telling you,
it goes everywhere.
Everywhere. The next day I was making a delivery, and 4 or 5 people stopped me, like, because I had put on there that we do catering. We got, in a week time, we got like 5 more. We got Chase, Bank, start reaching out for catering. Then we got Comerica, Bank was catering, and they was ordering every week. Just from seeing the van riding down the street.
Right.
Yeah.
So catering started picking up. And so now we like at 40% of our revenue is coming from catering.
Okay.
And at that time, it's just 2 people. I got one other person helping me bake, and I'm doing all the baking. And still ain't hired no employee yet.
Right.
Still just us doing everything. And then we was able to hire our first employee.
Okay.
And it was the
so around about when was this? What year was this?
End of 2015.
So 2015.
So we
started
2
in 2013, and in 2015, now you got a truck. You hiring your first employee.
First employee. So I've got my very first employee hired, and so catering is doing good. Website is still being built out because it was so hard to get somebody to finish it out.
Yeah. And so you're seeing revenue now as well, right?
So we're seeing revenue, but still not able to cover all bills and everybody. Still ain't got enough.
So you ain't seeing positive revenue.
Oh no, definitely not.
Okay,
still hitting pops up.
And another reason,
mom's up.
Oh, for sure, definitely, it's definitely setting the bills on the table for her so she can see them every day. But another thing is that we wasn't doing enough that we could start buying in bulk yet. So at this time, we were buying everything at the grocery store at the same price you paying for it, and we were doing all organic. Everything we was buying was organic.
Okay.
So we were paying $5 for flour, for a 5-pound bag of flour.
Okay. Yeah.
Killing us.
Yeah.
And so I had this conversation. I was at some place, and Michelle knew Ann and Jackie from when they first opened up Avalon. And we was someplace and we was talking, and Ann came over there and she was talking to us like, how's things going? And I just happened to say, it's food costs is killing me. And she's like, oh, where you get your flour from? I said, I use King Arthur, but I got it back from the grocery store because I'm not baking enough that I can buy, they require you to spend like $700 to $800 at a time for supplies in order to you can only get the 50-pound bag from Dawn Foods. Okay. But I reached out to them, and they was like, oh, you're ordering minimum $800. I ain't doing $800 probably in the whole month in flour. So I can't afford that. So I was telling her that. And she's like, oh, next time we order, you can order with us.
Okay.
I was like, what?
Nice.
Yep.
And so I was like, oh, that's gonna be okay. And then come to find out, I'm spending $5 to $6 for a 5-pound bag of flour, of the organic King Arthur flour. And for a 50-pound bag, it's $11.
Wow. For a 50-pound bag, it's $11. And you was paying $5 for a 5-pound bag. 10 times as much.
Yep.
It's only double the price.
Wow.
And so for the longest, I would call me when she's about to place her order and say how many flowers you need, April. That helped us out so much. That totally took us to another level.
I know, right?
Totally took us to another level when we was able to buy our flour and sugar that way, opposed to going to the store buying it. So then stuff started turning around. You know, I could start seeing just a little cushion.
Okay.
Was starting to, a little bit of savings was starting to go into that one account. Then we started getting more catering orders. And then in 2017, we applied for Detroit Demo Days.
Okay.
And we won. First prize, $200,000.
Wow.
And so it was
game changer.
That was total game changer. But it was a game changer. Two things is that we thought we were going to open up another location.
Okay.
So we was going to open up another location. So we wanted to buy a building. So we was looking around to buy a building, and building prices were so ridiculous.
Yeah.
But the money was still sitting there. But the more thing is that the resources that came with that.
Okay.
Yes.
So the day after we won Detroit Demo Days, Dan Gilbert sent out an email and said, from this point on, all baked goods must come from Good Cakes and Bakes.
Oh, wow.
And so I didn't really understand
what that
meant. It went from us making maybe $14,000 a month from everything, from retail, from corporate catering, to now we're doing $5,000 a week in just Dan Gilbert's people's.
Wow.
So we're doing $20,000 to $25,000 just from Dan Gilbert's buildings, because they celebrate everything.
Yeah.
So
did you start paying Mama at that point?
Yeah, she got
All
a little something.
All right.
Mama did get a little something.
I was wondering why Mom was asking me. She's like, I heard you used to be a union steward.
Right.
She's like, I heard you used to be a union steward. I need to talk to you.
We need some rice going on up here.
That's hilarious.
So she was getting. Let me just explain. So once Demo Days happened, and they literally, so we was the first Demo Day.
So they announced it everywhere.
Announced it everywhere, but not only that, but they just gave us the money. Well, after that, so after our year, they started like divvying it out to people. But for us, they just gave us the $20 check. Said, go do whatever you want to do.
I'm thinking about the niece. She had to be.
She was
10 at this point, 11 at this point. So she wants some school clothes.
Right.
So at this point,
got her going to school smelling like flowers.
So at this point, she's like, "Oh, now you know you can start paying me." Now I was like, "That money ain't for me to pay you. That money's supposed to have a."
Nobody want to hear that.
She's like, "Oh no."
I saw you on the news.
Right. You got a van out there with your name on it.
People really believe that. They think you get a business and you just rolling in dough.
Right, right, and especially as you, like you said, when you have a van, a branded van, and people don't necessarily see the sacrifices.
They don't see all that. And they be like, "Oh, I saw you on the news. You getting." My bank account do not show. You famous now. My bank account does not show that famous.
Right.
That.
Right.
And so we doing great, but not only that, but everything we was thinking that we wanted to do, they was connecting us with a mentor who could help us. Either saying like, yeah, you don't want to do that. But we was like, oh, maybe we want to be in grocery stores. We want to have a cake mix. They connect us with the guy who does all of the designing for Kellogg and Betty Crocker. And he went to explain to us, and we was like, okay, yeah, so maybe that's not. He was like, you got to be doing millions and millions of dollars boxes of cake mix to see a profit in that, because you got to remember, you got to give it to them at a wholesale price, and then you got to give it to the broker who is going to deliver it to them. So he's like, so your $3 cake mix, you probably getting 75 cents off of each box.
Okay.
He said, so you need to be doing super volumes. In order to do that, you need to have a warehouse. So we said, okay, let's set that to the side.
Yeah.
And then it was like, so what I will tell you is that you want to do more with your branding. And I said, what you mean? I think I got a website, I got a logo. He was like, no. He said, have you noticed that on McDonald's they don't even put their name on stuff anymore? I used to it's the arches. It's because they branding. People know just seeing that. You need to figure out a way to make sure when people walk, they ain't got to see Good Cakes and Bakes, but they know it's Good Cakes and Bakes. I was like, yeah. So then we spent money to get custom boxes made, bags made. So now you see a pink box that's not that little dull looking pink box, nice shiny, but you know it's Good Cakes and Bakes.
Right.
You see our bags, Good Cakes and Bakes. They helped us with all of that, like telling us like branding, changing things in the store, making sure everything is consistent. It was even though of course the money was great, but it was the other stuff that came along with it, the other resources, the mentorship that came along with that was total game changer. Right. So now only are we like now I think we like at you would say like 62% of our revenue is from corporate catering.
Okay.
Now we're delivering. So we're delivering to downtown to like Dan Gilbert buildings to how people downtown, right?
More residential, still commercial.
So at this time we're delivering to commercials, but it's for employees. So they might go on the website and order 2 or 3 cupcakes, and we'll deliver that. Okay. But at that time we were charging $15 for delivery. So people's like, oh, you should open up a location downtown. I was like, why? I'm getting $20 for 2 cupcakes.
Right.
Because you're spending $5 for the cupcakes and $15 for the delivery.
Yeah. Right.
I'm not gonna be able to charge nobody $10 a cupcake downtown.
Right.
So I don't need that.
Right. I pull up to the front. We tell somebody to pull up to the front. You meet them at the door.
Right. Come get your cupcakes. So we doing good. Like I'm like, no. So I'm not need another location like that. So then the next year we get this opportunity. One of my friends, she writes for Bon Appetit. I'm sorry, Food and Wine. Food and Wine. She writes for Food and Wine, and she's like, April, I want to do a bio on you in Food and Wine. I was like, oh, cool. So she does it. It comes out. It's supposed to come out March 1st. The end of February, I get this email, and it said, hey, we're trying to reach April Anderson. Saw her Food and Wine article and want to talk to her. Who should we reach out to? I was like, and it was Today Show. I said, this can't be real.
Right.
So I sent it to my friend Brittany, who's my publicist. I said, is this real? She's like, yeah. So we reached out, and it's like, yeah, we saw, because they got an early copy of the magazine.
Yeah.
Saw it, and then they went to our website, and we did a commercial for Chase a few years before it was on the website. And it's like, we saw the website with you and your mother, and we would love to bring y'all to New York to be on a Today Show for Mother's Day.
Nice.
I was like, what?
Let me check my schedule.
Right.
I was like, so then we got to talking, and we was like, oh, it would be good. We'll make. So we have been wanting to do every occasion. We do my grandmother's biscuits on a Saturday at the bakery, and I said, oh, we should do that in the mix because again, still in my head, I want to do a mix for people to make at home. So I said we can do it as a mix, and people can make it at home. And we can do it on the show, like the show that you can make this for Mother's Day, right? Okay. So we started doing all the stuff to get the packaging together for it, and the lady comes to do some B-roll before we go to New York for Mother's Day. And she buys a lemon velvet cake, and she eats it on the plane, and she goes back and talks about it to them. So now, at this point, I had never shipped before, had tried shipping to family, never comes out right, ever. It's a cake. How do you ship a cake and make sure you get to people on time?
She like, I need one of them cakes.
So they called back, and they was like, you know what, Michelle, which is the producer name, she had your lemon cake, and she said it was so good. Can you make that on the show? I'm like, yeah, it's the Today Show. Of course I'm going to say yeah. Mm-hmm. I do what I always do, say yeah, and then figure it out later.
Right.
So I said yeah. So then I hang up the phone. I'm like, oh, man, if we make that on the show, people are going to want us to ship that. I'm not shipping no cake. We only got like a week and a half now before we go to New York.
Yeah.
How are we gonna do that? So they needed to connect with our web designer because they make sure your bandwidth is right because they know that people are going to website. They want to make sure your website don't crash. So we connected it with our web person to make sure the website was good. Shipping. So she's like, how much you gonna charge for shipping? I was like, well, I order cakes from places. It's like $30, $40. I don't want to charge people $40 because we not known like that. So we charge $29.95. Okay. So we go on the show. Literally before we off the show, well, first of all, we get on the show. They tell us that you got 3.5 minutes to do the recipe in 3.5 minutes. So if you ever watch it, you see me talking real fast, and then as this going on, I kind of relax because I see we not getting off. We was on there for 8.5 minutes, the longest anybody has ever been on a food segment on there. Wow. Because they kept telling Craig and his ear, keep going. They love it, keep going. So we get off of there. Our website crashes with like 300,000 people on the website.
Wow. What in the world?
Wow.
The phone won't stop ringing at the bakery. I'm in New York. And we were there for the whole weekend because my mother had never been. So this is going to be Mother's Day. We stayed there for the whole weekend. It was crazy. I had to call my sister to come up there. One of my bakers, he had to come and be the phone answerer. It was crazy. And people was ordering. This was a Thursday we was on there. People was ordering thinking they was going to get this cake on before Sunday.
Because they wanted it for
Mother's Day, right.
No.
I was like, so we get back from New York on Monday, and I got like 850 orders. 850 orders. And all these people, so I'm going through it. Oh, and then Carson Daly goes on the website, I guess before we went on air, and he orders cupcakes. So he talks about them. Again, we definitely know we ain't never shipping cupcakes. Can't do that. He goes on there, he orders it and do shipping and tells it on show. He's like, oh, I just ordered the peanut butter cupcakes. Y'all should order it too. Oh. So we got cakes, we got cupcakes, 850 orders. I get back, so I'm going through the orders and, emailing people like, you ain't getting this tomorrow.
Right. They wanted it for Mother's Day,
They wanted it for Mother's Day, and Mother's Day passed, so I'm like, do you want a refund? And I was hoping, because again, it's only 2 people baking at this time. Yeah. I'm like, sending emails. People's like, oh, no, I'll wait. Oh, no, I'll wait.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, great. I said, okay, well, you're going to have to give us some time. It's like, take your time. So we get to organizing the orders, like, okay. So we we start making the cakes, and we shipping them out slowly but surely. Go to take the first cake to the doggone post office to deliver it. It's going to New York. Again, charge $29.95 for shipping, right? Get there to the post office. This lady say $197.
$197
to ship it.
Oh.
Ship it.
Oh.
I almost had a heart attack.
Well, you like,
because
I could buy a plane ticket, round trip, drop it off and bring it back.
I was like, oh my God. So now, again, I never shipped a cake before. Ooh. Didn't have enough ice in there. It's May, the beginning of June by the time we get to shipping cakes off. Of those 850 cakes, I think maybe 40 people said they'll take a refund because they wanted it for Mother's Day. Yeah. Great. Of those 800 and some cakes that we did end up shipping out, maybe 4 of them got to people okay.
Wow.
All the rest of that was money that we ate.
Did you have to pay the $197?
Oh yeah, I couldn't go back to them and say, "Oh, I need you to give me another $145." I had to eat that for all of those. For all of them, except for people who might have been going to like Ohio,
right?
But it was like $212 to go to California.
Oh wow.
$250. Then a lady I sent a cake to Atlanta. And it got to her, and she sent it. It was just like mush. When she sent me a picture of it, and I was like, "Oh, I'm a refund." She said, "Oh no, I'll wait. Can you ship me another one?"
No, I want to ship you another one. I'm gonna send you your money.
Exactly, because
it's easier for me to send
your money back.
So
that's a whole $197.
So 2 things. That was a great learning experience, but it cost us so much money.
Wow.
So not only is that happening, but so when we came back from New York. Also, we come back to New York to the street being all tore up. Because that's when the streetscape started.
Right.
The streetscape. So we left, and they was just putting the cones out.
Yeah.
When we left.
That was 2017?
2018.
2019.
So you get no foot traffic.
This is 2019.
Yeah.
Because, the city was saying, if y'all can just make it to next spring, it's going to be great for y'all.
Yeah.
Y'all going to have outdoor seating. Yeah. You're going to have extended live. It's going to be clear. Y'all can just make it survive until spring of 2020.
Spring of 2020. What happened?
What happened spring of 2020? Exactly.
Check out part 2 of our interview with April Anderson, owner of Good Cakes and Bakes, next week on BLD Presents. Speak for yourself.